when their guy plays some games. Alright, hi everybody. Weather Guy here. We're back with more of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're in the final case. Sorry we had to cut off early last time. It was kind of an emergency, so please forgive me. We did still progress a little bit last time. The main thing that happened was we learned what happened from Ginny's perspective, right? Which was basically what we already sort of suspected, but with the addition that she just like passed out whenever she was in the room. So I'm curious of what actually caused that. If it was shock, or if it was some sort of chemical that got into her system, I don't know. But yeah, now we're getting this Graydon guy's testimony about what happened, and then we're going to cross-examine him, presumably. We'll see how it goes. Even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene, some Scaramouche detective's home-brewed tincture can hardly be taken as serious evidence. This guy's kind of a butthole. And my theory that I presented last time, which might be a silly theory, is that I think he's like a relative or a son of McGilden, but who knows. So, you deny the accusation completely, do you? I must say, I am dismayed. For the highest court in the land to be swayed by this self-professed detective's toy. It was the will of the jury, and our great British justice system demands that the jury's will is upheld. Then it would seem we have the misfortune of a most inept assembly of jurors today. By golly. How long am I expected to be detained here? Yeah, following the defense's cross-examination, your involvement in this matter has not been established. You will be free to leave immediately. Good. Then I shall be away in time for afternoon tea. Some small consolation, at least. Let us not hold up Mr. Graydon any longer than necessary, counsel. Proceed with the cross-examination. Great. So, we meet again, Mr. Eggert Benedict. That was his false name that he gave us previously. Or is it Mr. Graydon? My apologies. You are... Ryu, defense lawyer. We have met. Oh, if you say so, Ashley Graydon, Enchante. So, he threw the hat at me. I trust we can conclude this quickly. But I'm not holding your flashy hat while we do. Great. So it's time to press this guy. Press him. Yes, we even met in the very pawnbrokery where the crime took place on the afternoon of the day in question. Though, of course, you introduced yourself by a different name at the time. It was Mr. Eggert Benedict, I believe. Tell me what made you... The witness is here to testify about events that took place that night. It might be relevant, Van Zeeks, you douche. He is under no obligation to answer such unrelated questions. You can't be serious. Thank you, because I certainly do not feel inclined to answer such an inappropriate question. He's gonna be evasive, is he? In an effort not to give anything away. This could be tricky. Alright, onward we go.
Hold it!
Have you seen these two men before? This pair? No, I don't associate with criminals. Said by a man who introduced himself as Eggert Benedict. I'd like to know who I have to thank for this. Who made this outlandish accusation against me? The young lawyer there in the black. This is a farce. Whose idea was it to permit an outsider to work in a British court anyway? This guy's such a little tool bag. Well, needless to say, onward and upward.
Hold it!
Where were you at around 1 in the morning on the night in question, sir? That is past the hour at which I would normally retire. Certainly, I was not in the company of these rapscallions. You able to prove that?
Objection!
Listen carefully, my learned Nipponese friend, for you appear to be under a gross misapprehension on this point. What do you mean? The witness maintains he was not at the scene of the crime. He has no obligation to prove his absence. If your accusation is that the witness was present at the scene, the burden of proof goes on the accuser. The obligation lies with you to prove your assertion. You will fulfill that obligation before putting any more unreasonable questions to the witness. So true. A silent victory wiggle. Thanks.
Hold it!
Blood was found at the scene of the crime, there's no question of that. Mr. Sholmes' chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But I am not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? How can you be sure that the blood is mine? It could equally be the blood of one of these two miscreants. Every individual's blood is a slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Sholmes' chemical is able to differentiate different... Spare me the science lesson. Who is this Sholmes character anyway? No way this guy doesn't know who Sholmes is, come on. Oh, I assumed all Londoners would know the name. He's a renowned detective. I love that he changed his mind. He was gonna call him a great detective, but that's not necessarily true, is it? Renowned is a much more accurate description of Sherlock Sholmes. So, even you aren't able to bring yourself to say great detective. A great detective, you say? Now we're in the realm of fairy tales, are we? Oh, this is interesting. Let's pursue this. Is he a fan? You have something to say about that, Mr. Skulkin? Yeah, what? Me? No, the Mr. Skulkin next to you. Right, I've had it up to here with this. How many times have I got to tell you? Yes, I know, you're not big, rough, sulky. Dude, I love that bit, it's so good. Mr. Nash Skulkin. Hey, court blimey, Governor. You what? Is it not the case that when Mr. Graydon just spoke, a thought went through your mind? Thought goes through everybody's minds all the time, hopefully. Would you care to share that thought with the court? Me thoughts? I don't have none of them. It must have been him. You what? Mr. Nash Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke? Nothing, honest Gov, nothing. I was just thinking, if he waves his arms around like that much more, it'll open up the wound again. That's all. The wound? What wound? Where he took the bullet, of course. It was only 2 days ago. It ain't gonna be healed up yet. So I was, well, you know, I was worrying for him, and... Oh, Ael's bells. No way, we got a lead just like that. That's insane. Mr. Graydon, did you hear that? What? Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm. My lord? Yes, Mr. Graydon. I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. We know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole in the wall, That person was likely hit in the upper arm or thereabouts. Perhaps you'd allow a court official to examine your arm, sir? The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand, as if in pain. No, I refuse. You have shown no evidence whatsoever that links me to these common thieves. Accordingly, I am not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. He was definitely shot. As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved in all of this. I've never had anything to do with the pawnbrokery where this fellow was killed whatsoever. I take offense at the insinuation that I was in any way involved. You claim to have had nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Winterbank's pawnbrokery. Which is crazy considering a bunch of people saw him that day at the pawnbrokery. My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Graydon's formal testimony. Very well, counsel. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon. Yeah. Now we press this.
Hold it!
Never had anything to do with it? Dude, he hit that desk hard. You forget that I was there, Mr. Graydon, on the very afternoon of the incident. Obviously, I am not a complete stranger to the pawnbrokers. I'm currently on the lookout for an armchair to furnish my study.
Objection!
No, you were there to redeem an article. I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, that's right, he was there too.
Excuse me!
You have something to add, Inspector? Let's go, Gregson. Come again, Sunshine. You were there too, in fact, weren't you, Inspector? That afternoon. Well, yes, I do remember meeting yourself and the pawnbrokers that afternoon. You, your young Japanese assistant, and the accused were all present, as I recall. At that time, this witness, Mr. Graydon, was trying to acquire a particular article. Oh, well now. I'm afraid I don't remember too clearly. What? But you must! I'm not gonna lie and pretend I remember something that I don't. That's very odd. That's really weird. I don't like this one bit. What's going on here? Rexy showed us a picture before, didn't he? You know, from the cameras that Hurley installed in Winterbanks? Yes, of course. Indeed, and the gentleman pictured bears a striking resemblance to the witness, I must say. Exactly, which proves that Mr. Graydon was in the shop on the afternoon in question. Even though that was at 11 a.m., that's not afternoon, bud. At no point have I denied that fact. I merely entered the shop to peruse the articles on sale and have a word with the broker. Nothing more. Yeah, you better eat a bite of your fries, you butthole. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks. But why would Gregson be trying to avoid giving testimony about what happened? That's all he's gonna say on the matter, is it? What do you think, Bruno? I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has of giving himself away. The complete opposite of Hurley then. He seems to think that the more he says, the better. Well, at least I managed to prise a little more information from these witnesses' lips. All thanks to the Skulkin brothers. Yes, they were the key to it after all. He says he had nothing to do with Winterbanks. Well, we know that's not true. Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look through the court record. Good idea, you never know what tiny scrap of information could become a valuable weapon. Alright. Alright, so we're gonna go over to the one about never, yeah, so let's look at our court record stuff here to double check. It's not this, I don't think. Although There was all the stuff with the redemption ticket and the jacket and stuff too. That was quite interesting. Do we have that other photo? We do not. Okay. Maybe it's a music box disc because he was there trying to get that. That's what I'm thinking right now. Is the music box disc. The other side was about government stuff, right? So probably important in some way, but not in this moment. Should be nothing here. Yeah. I'm trying to remember which one was which. Deposit February. Deposit also February later that night. Overcoat. So he was... This is the redemption ticket he was redeeming. Yeah. So this is probably it.
Objection.
Witness's last statement. Oh no. No, no. Yeah, it definitely has something to do with it, because that was the ticket he was trying to turn in. Alright, let's try a different thing. Let's go back to the music box disc.
Objection.
There we go. Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Why is it supposed to mean something? This disc was until the day of his murder and pawn in Mr. Winterbank's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try to take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course. Wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? As I have reiterated numerous times now, you are mistaken. That was not me. I've never seen that disc before in my life. It may have escaped your notice, but there is a small smear of blood on the disc. Oh yes, resulting from an abrasion of the thumb, perhaps. That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of that skirmish in the form of the smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also, in the form of a scratch. So true. Good gracious, indeed it must! Mr. Graydon, you refused to allow a court officer to examine your arm before. Are you now going to refuse to allow us to examine your thumb? So I have no doubt that it bears a small scratch consistent with the smear of blood on the disc. Well, well. It would seem I underestimated you. What is the meaning of this? So you admit it now. You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take the disc from the defendant. Perfect. Look how he has that hand behind his back now. And it's gloved as well. Well, Mr. Graydon, it would appear there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not attempt to take the disc, as you put it. No, quite the reverse. What are you trying to say? I'm truly quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of pawn? What? It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about this disc now. As you wish. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. I can't wait to hear about the disc, finally. Let's go. The disc. This is huge. There's a note on the disc saying for McGilded, but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night. That was quick.
Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGilded, you say, the famous London philanthropist? Who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly messy murder?
Yes, my lord, the one and the same.
Good lord. Mr. Graydon, are you saying that Mr. McGilded and yourself were acquainted?
Yes, that's correct.
Order. Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again.
According to what Gina told us, this disc was placed in pawn on that fateful night 2 months ago. McGilded himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windibanks. It's funny that Miss Graydon here is claiming the disc belongs to him then, isn't it? In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windibanks in order to get his hands on McGilded's disc for some reason.
Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, please.
Yeah, we still don't really know what's on the disc. He didn't tell us. Press him on it. Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer such as myself commands a fine salary.
You are certainly exquisitely dressed, sir.
So you see, I have little need to make use of the services provided by the pawnbrokery trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties having misplaced my purse whilst on an errand, which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question. You claim that was your overcoat? No way, it wouldn't fit him. Remember, the overcoat was McGilded's size, wasn't it? Obviously, and in my haste I clean forgot that the music box disc was in its pocket. And yet there is a note on it that reads, "For McGilded." I am a collector of rare and unusual music box music. I first met Mr. McGilded at a gentleman's club in the city, and was interested to discover that he shared my penchant in that area.
So, the disc in question?
It's a pre-production sample. I promised to let Mr. McGilded hear it. But then you forgot that it was in the pockets of the overcoat that you were forced to pawn. Yes, exactly. Gina didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she? No, because McGilded had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury. For you, folks at home who may not know what perjury is for whatever reason, it's okay if you don't, maybe you're a young audience or something. Perjury is quite simply when you lie in court under oath, right? As far as I know, I'm not a lawyer, but that's from what I understand, that's what it is, you know. So if we dive too deep and explain that Gina lied in her testimony 2 months ago, then that would be bad for Gina, which we don't want. Let's leave it alone for the time being. Press him on it. So you're saying that Miss Lestrade lifted the ticket from your pocket or bag? That's right. Despite being mindful of danger when walking in the insalubrious areas her kind frequented.
Objection!
Miss Lestrade did no such thing. Well, of course you would take that stance, but the girl is a regular offender. You came to the pawnbrokery that day prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her, that's what brought you to Windibanks.
to get your hands on McGilda's disc.
Objection!
My learned friend is a veritable font of nonsense. Nonsense? I concur with the prosecution. Counsel, you will refrain from conjecturing in this way. Is that clear? Yes, my lord. Then I will continue with my testimony for what possible use it can be.
Hold it!
Had you ever been to Windibanks before? Only once, for the purposes of pawning something. But like many, I enjoy browsing in such establishments. So when you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her. Is that correct? Yes, that's right. I didn't notice at first, of course. Such is the art of the pick-purse. But when I did, I headed to the pawnbrokery at once, in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was rightfully mine in the first place. He can say what he likes because he knows we have no evidence to contradict him on this.
Hold it!
Yes, it was taken by the Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently, the police are collecting anything that is a connection to Mr. McGilded as evidence. To pursue Gregson on this. Maybe he'll be more open this time, right? Something wrong, Inspector? What do you mean? Last remark Mr. Graydon made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way. No, it didn't. It's nothing. Leave it alone. Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGilded's possessions? I can't tell you something like that, Sunshine. This must be connected to the larger case, I'm assuming. Which is interesting, though, because if that's the case, then why is the judge so surprised to hear McGilded's name in general? Because he said he never thought he'd hear McGilded's name in this court again. But if they're getting all of his possessions, he must still be relevant in some way, or his life was. So you'd assume that he would come up in court again, right? What is it, Inspector? Investigative secrets? Yes, exactly. You should know all about that. Magnus McGilded, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago, a man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life. Yet, he had a dark side, too. Where are you going with this, Fanzeeks? I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they? That's enough. This is good. This is good. Coppers like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about. That's all you need to know. Duties conferred by Lord Strongheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector. Give us some info, man. The bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're going to need Lord Strongheart's paw print first. What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Van Zeeks here. Interesting. Well, it would appear that the Inspector has revealed all he is at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let us return to your testimony. Gladly, my lord. In other words, I'd had no reason to break in.
Hold it!
But perhaps you'd seen something of value among the forfeited items? No, not at all. Oh. A valuer was brought in by the police to assess everything in the shop. Without exception, every article on the shelves was common or garden bric-a-brac. In that case, it's clear that you broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGilded's disc. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I had wanted to recover the disc, You may recall that it had been seized by the police that afternoon. It was no more in the shop that night than I. As I keep saying, I simply had no reason to break in. So there was nothing of McGilda's left in the shop that night. Nothing this man might have been after. I wonder if that's really true. Bruno, if you have some evidence, then let him have it. I'm dying to see that irritatingly assured expression of his crumble. McGill slipped the disc into his coat pocket and had it deposited at Windibank's. Then, when he realized he was going to be arrested on suspicion of the omnibus murder, he threatened Gina and forced her to take the redemption ticket. There's no doubt about it. That witness is lying through his pearly white teeth. Police were obviously after anything left behind by McGill as well. That's why Inspector Gregson ended up taking the disc into custody that day. But Gregsy's been very strange about all this. There must be a reason for that, I'm sure. I just don't know what it is. For now, I need to focus on exposing the fact that Mr. Graydon is lying in his testimony. So we need to find something else in McGill that is there. So let's look through that again. This was the thing for the box. Yes. The box.
Objection!
Yeah. The disc was deposited at Windibank's on Magnus McGilda's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself.
Objection!
Conjecture again. And in any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. But didn't you need the right music box to play that disc? The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbrokery again that night.
Objection!
Sorry, my learned friend. Oh, the sarcasm. But that's not true. What? Miss McGill had another article on pawn at Windibank's, as this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. Ah. There were two articles belonging to Mr. McGill in Windibank's pawnbrokery. And the reason he broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one. Together with your two accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. This is the second ticket, is it? What had the man deposited? The article description reads, one small box. A rather vague description, it seems to me. Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forfeited, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point. Indeed. The witness makes a solid argument. So that means that for some reason, this Graydon fellow needed the small box that very night, does it?
Objection!
Uh-oh. It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord. Would you be a little less cryptic, Lord Renziques? Dude, the judge is talking like Chandler from Friends. Like, could you be less annoying? I guess there's no sarcasm there, but you know what I mean. I just thought of that voice at the time. I do hate to ruin my learned friend's arguments, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box was taken from Windibank's pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. What? Oh, gracious. Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, if you please. Yes, sir. What prints? These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras. Ah, Hurley's red-handed recorders again. As previously explained using this plan of the shop layout, the victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in two locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windibank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which articles were placed for sale once forfeited. According to the information on this ticket, McGilda's small box had been forfeited already, 2 days before the incident at 9 p.m. on 13th April to be precise, which means it would have been on the shelves of forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. That's at 11 p.m. on April 15th. The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear. Is that not the case? The box right there in front center? Then we have another print. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident. I see, so we have two pictures to compare. Oh no, do I have to cross my eyes again? I can't do it. Well, I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold. Dear me, that's startling to make my head ache. Starting. Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we consider theft as one possible motive in this case. We explored the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life. So your men have already compared these two prints thoroughly, Inspector? Yes, sir. We counted every single item in each of those two photographic prints. And the Yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both. In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery on the nights in question. And my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy. Ugh. I don't believe it. I could have just shown that he'd stolen McGilda's pawn box. I might have been able to break him down at last. You know what, Bruno? I've been thinking... I wonder if these two photographs really are exactly the same. That's what I want to know. What? So, counsel, in the light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that, in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? No. Could there be some hidden discrepancy in these two photographic somewhere? Look at this other photos. Do they overlap at all? They don't really, do they? Where's this at? 1:30 a.m.? It would be nice to see more clearly. Review scene? Okay. I'm staring at this. One item at a time on both shelves. I'm not going cross-eyed. We're going top. I'm on the one with the hat in the top right now. So far, the top shelf looks the same. Left one. Big left one. Those are the same. Music box thing is the same in both, that blue thing. Bottles are the same. Two statues are the same. Everything on the middle shelf is the same. Bottom left shelf. Same. 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 Everything on the shelf seems to be the same. The horse seems to be the same. Okay, everything in this scene looks the same to me. Can we use the stereoscope thing? Before I give my answer, my lord, I'd like to try something if I may. Try something? What do you mean, counsel? I'll need to use a certain piece of evidence from the court record to identify the discrepancy. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure I follow. Is it the stereoscope? It's gotta be a stereoscope.
Take that!
I'd like to use this device, my lord, to view the two prints stereoscopically. Oh! Yes, you've caught the bug at last. You can't resist it, can you? You've got the cross-eyed compulsion. Turn number 3, what a surprise. Come on, Runo. Let's put the pictures in place and see what this wonderful contraption shows us. Alright, just combine them, please. There we go. Now look through the eyepiece. Oh, I missed that? Really? Wasn't sure at first, but there is a clear discrepancy between these two prints. What? You must identify the location in question for the court counsel. Oh boy, this is gonna be tough.
Take that!
Granted, these two prints are almost identical. However, there is one minor discrepancy between them. What? Oh yeah, it's moved, isn't it? Yeah, it's moved. It's shifted over. A single area stands out as being different. The location of this small box. Let me wait. Unbelievable. Let's go. I love Van Zeeks with there's our this is either our thumbnail or the Van Zeeks is the thumbnail, dude. This is great. By Jove, you're right, how extraordinary. This tells us it's very simple. Mr. McGilda's small box was indeed not stolen from Winnebago's in the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves. Are you suggesting the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGilda is in fact... Yes, the very same small box I just identified in those photographic prints.
Objection!
Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on the shelf. Nothing was stolen, which means quite simply that nothing has changed. That may be true, but... Alright, McGilda's box wasn't stolen then. Doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things? Changes everything. I bet... I don't know. I believe this changes everything about the case. How can that possibly be? The crucial point is the fact that what was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider what might have been inside that box. What are you suggesting? Dude, that face by Van Zeeks is crazy. I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves at Winnebago's as we speak.
Objection!
That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial. The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zeeks. Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question and bring it back here for further examination. We're doing good. We haven't had too many mistakes today. I'm feeling good about this. Are y'all doing good? Are we heading towards another to be continued? Certainly seems that way. Very tense. We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while the evidence is brought forth. To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Disappointing. I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zeeks. This is nothing but a smokescreen. Nipponese specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say? My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning, that this witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGilda from the pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place. Exactly. It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property. I mean, it was McGilda's, it's worth something, and the point is what's inside it, right? If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGilda perished 2 months ago, immediately after the conclusion of his trial. A trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which it was established he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend in his most insightful defense. The articles this upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets, and a small box. I assure you I wouldn't accept, even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me. You gotta know what's in the box, dude. We gotta go full 7, you know, with Brad Pitt. What's in the box? Crazy movie. The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling. It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument. So wasteful. To explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizen could have. Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Or are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case? Well, what's the matter, Bruno? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence. Yes, of course, you and I both know that. We know McGilda's true character, and we know the disc is significant, even if we don't know why. If we explain all that to the court at this point, get Gina in trouble. Yeah, we'll have to acknowledge that McGilda's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. That the defense's argument was flawed, based on false information. Oh no! That would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury. Yeah, we're in a pickle here. But Ginny... Could it be that Van Zieks knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he's anticipated everything? But maybe... this could be a great opportunity for us. Sorry, what do you mean, Iris? Well, what is it that you always say, Bruno? Sooner or later, the truth comes out. Every time. Alright, the exact significance of the things that McGilda deposited with Mr. Windibank. Something that only Gina can explain to the court. If I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chances of winning this case. We gotta put Gina on the stand. We got to. What's the right thing to do here? My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh, what proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilda's small box, I would like to call a defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand. The defendant? To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited at Windibanks by Mr. McGilda, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information related to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It will prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Well, well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing, in particular the impact it will have on the accused's standing, and indeed your own. I have. Lord Van Zieks, would you care to explain that last remark? The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself. Very well, if you have no objection. I am excited to see Gina on the stand. She's one of the goats, dude. So the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. You witnesses currently in the stand may step down until further notice. Okay, fancy boy. Then I shall bid you good day. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies. As you wish. Alright then, Gina. It's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here. Good luck, Bruno. Alright. This is a place to stop, right here. Sorry. right before we hear Gina's testimony and all that, we're going to dive into what Gina has to say next time. See if she comes clean about everything and what sort of impacts that will have. That's very interesting and exciting. And again, we have so many different interlacing mysteries here. I don't know if we're going to touch on all of them. We might not get to some of them until the second half of the game, which is crazy because this was originally released as 2 separate games, you know? We're about at the end of the first one, so I'm really curious if we're going to find out the government side of things, those conspiracies there. We're going to find out why Sasato knows about the manuscript. We're going to find out what the actual significance of the manuscript is. I don't know if we're going to find all that out today. I do know that we're going to find out, presumably, about the music box, the disc, any new information about Magilda to confirm his fate, exactly how this new guy, what his relation to all of this is and what his intents are. And I'm also curious, now that I think about it, he looks a lot like the criminal from the very first case, the girl whose name escapes me at the moment, who got out scot-free. They were both fancy, blonde English people, so maybe they're siblings. I don't know. I'm very curious about how this all connects back together. But that's all I got. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure that you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of others. I'll see you next time. Peace out.